Hi folks, Van Prepper here with another Safe Acting Gun News update. This one's going to be quick. I have two things I want to touch on. The first is the gun registry in New York. The state of New York is not releasing any numbers on the gun registry, and the reason for that is they're citing a provision in the law that says they can't release the information of those who register, so that for the safety of the people who have registered firearms. That provision is for the safety of the individuals. It has nothing to do with whether they release numbers, percentages, or how many people registered for their firearms, their assault weapons. But they are citing that as a reason that they won't release any figures. The real reason they won't release any figures is, as I've already talked about and you've seen other places, nobody registered their firearms. The estimates that I've seen, and it's hard to make estimates because we still live in a free country and they don't know who has weapons and who does not have weapons, who has what type of weapons and who does not, are somewhere in the vicinity of about 10%, which I think is consistent with what Connecticut had. Now that is fantastic. I wish it was 100%, but it's really good. The reason that New York State doesn't want to make any kind of release of information now is that it makes them look foolish. It shows what a complete and utter failure the law was, and it puts them in a position that Connecticut was in that New York State doesn't want to be in. Governor Cuomo has an election coming up this year. He wants nothing to do with having to answer to the anti-gunners as to why he's not going around and attempting forced confiscation for those who are forced registration either way. And he also doesn't want to anger the pro-gun crowd by trying to force registration or any type of confiscation. So he really doesn't want to touch this issue, certainly not at least until after the election. I also, on a side note, read an article today that said that state Democrats can't stand Governor Cuomo, and he is polling, his aspirations are no secret that he wants to run for president. He is polling currently, I think, in fourth place with 2% of potential Democrat voters would want him as their nominee. So he is a complete and utter failure. Nobody likes him. He'll probably get reelected here in New York because there's too many FUDs who are hunter-only pro-gun people, and they don't understand how this law is going to affect them yet. And wisely for Governor Cuomo, he has put off parts of this law under the guise of they haven't got them ready yet because he doesn't want to piss people off ahead of this election. The only other thing I have is the Supreme Court has pushed back their hearing of the Drake case, which is the case out of New Jersey. For those who don't know, I did a video on this earlier. He is a guy who runs an ATM business and has on at least 3 occasions been chased and had to flee for his life during the execution of his duties. People have waited around and tried to rob him as he was restocking the ATMs, and the state of New Jersey refused to issue him a concealed carry permit because they said that this did not constitute a justification of why he needed a concealed carry permit. And this is just nonsense from New Jersey. The Supreme Court has pushed this case off until the 25th of April, as I said, where they're going to have a closed-door meeting with the justices. And hopefully, this is something that for all the court victories that we have, there are still states operating like this, like Gestapo states, that refuse to comply with the fact that despite case law after case law after case law that shows that the right to bear arms is not just an individual right, it is an individual right that extends outside of the home. There are plenty of states that just refuse to comply with that and acknowledge that, and they continue to do things to make it difficult or impossible for citizens of their state to get a concealed carry permit. By the way, on the concealed carry permit, congratulations Jennifer Young and everybody in Illinois who's getting their concealed carry permits. That's great news. Glad to hear that. I'm Van Prepper. This has been another Safe Acting Gun News update. Happy shooting, everybody.